wahalifu watachukuliwa hatua kamilifu.
Nchi yetu baada ya miaka 50 tangu kujinyakulia uhuru, badala ya kwenda mbele tunarudi nyuma.
Uproar over runaway insecurity. Plus the microscope on errant motorists. Speed cameras set for Nairobi streets. And special commandos to train Kenyans on terror response.
I started flying in 1996.
And the pilot turned barber. Coming up on KTN's Job Center tonight.
KTN Weekend Prime with Yvonne Okwara.
Many thanks for joining us in our bulletin tonight. It is indeed a pleasure. I hope you've started off your weekend quite well. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our bulletin will focus quite heavily on matters of security or insecurity. And also don't forget, it is Saturday night, so we will be giving you the opportunity to find your dream job and to settle down in your dream career. It's KTN's Job Center. On Twitter, you can get us at KTN Job Center. And I'm joined this evening, of course, by my sign language interpreter, William Silla, who'll make sure that everybody can be a part of our bulletin tonight. Welcome. Let's start off our bulletin tonight with the issue of insecurity, and 10 suspects have been arrested over the murder of the parents of Nyakach MP Aduma Okwara. The MP's parents were bludgeoned with blunt objects before their house was set on fire, burning them to death. Cabinet Secretary for Internal Security Joseph Olelenku says that he will hold his officers accountable for any incidents of insecurity within their jurisdiction.
The 10 suspects were intercepted by police in Nyakach on Saturday as the Cabinet Secretary for Internal Security condoled with the family of Aduma Okwara, offering a stern warning to the perpetrators of the heinous crime.
Wachane na hiyo tabia ya kuibiana mali kwa mwingine, kudhulumiana, kufanya maovu, hiyo muache. Lakini msipoacha, usianze kusema chief ananionea, huyo OCS hata alikuwa ananichukia.
Tutaleta operation kwanza kabla tujajenga kituo. Tukuingie ndani kule na ujue operation kama unafurahia jui nani mwizi na yule sio mwizi. Tutafute hao wachambazi.
The MP's presence embodied the political solidarity that is hoped would calm down the neighboring communities said to be locked in frequent conflict over cattle rustling.
This is going to be an example to the rest of the boundaries in Kenya, that we are going to live in peace. When you see me down there, you see your fellow MP. When you see him here in Tinderet, we see a fellow MP, is it? And that is why we want to create unity in this border. In fact, we want to ensure that the youth on the other side and the youth on this other side, we coexist.
Coexist with the natives. They are our brothers. We don't know other brothers. So we need them, they also need us. If there are any failings or shortcomings on the side of my friend here, we will address them.
It never happened in the history of the capital of Kisumu or in the history of Kisumu or greater Nyanza province that you kill somebody who is a woman who's cooking is a taboo in law. That you go and lock the doors and put the house on fire for people inside to burn.
Leaders and security officers complain that even capital offenders are usually released on bail, adversely affecting the fight against crime.
Vipande vyote tumekubaliana kwamba wahalifu watachukuliwa hatua kamilifu bila kujalisha yeye ni nani.
Olelenku's tour began in Kapsabet and then he proceeded to Muhoroni, where he urged residents to embrace the Nyumba Kumi initiative. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
But even as the security chiefs talked tough in Nyakach, the opposition blasted the government over security lapses and killings across the country. The court coalition says the government is failing in its duty to protect the citizens. The opposition has warned the country risks sliding into anarchy if insecurity goes unchecked. Samogina has a story.
CORD principals Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka have challenged the Jubilee administration to assure Kenyans of their security, irrespective of the region or party affiliations.
Je, kuna serikali? Kuna serikali? Unajua kazi ya serikali ni kulinda wananchi na mali yao. Kama serikali haiwezi kulinda wewe na mali yako, hakuna haja ya serikali.
Na hofu kwamba nchi yetu baada ya miaka 50 tangu kujinyakulia uhuru, badala ya kwenda mbele tunarudi nyuma.
The duo condemned the recent attack in Nyakach, which led to the killing of Nyakach MP Aduma Owor's parents. The CORD leaders warned insecurity will lead the country to a state of anarchy.
Sasa wananchi wenyewe watakwenda watachukua masilaha ili wajilinde wao wenyewe. Kama kila mtu anakwenda anachukua mishale, mwingine bunduki, tutakuwa na serikali kweli? Tutakuwa na nchi kweli? Itakuwa ni kama Somalia, sio?
A conglomeration of hiccups in this government. By the time we are done with them, we will be ready to take power.
The opposition says the increasing cases of lawlessness in the country, corruption, high taxation of Kenyans, and inability of the government to work closely with neighboring countries under the East African Community was an indication that the leadership of the Jubilee government is failing.
Security what? X. Taxation? X. Regional integration? X.
We want to know why Mudama's security has been withdrawn. We want to know what wrong he has committed, what offense, and why he's not having security.
Meanwhile, in Bungoma, Amani leadership, led by Musalia Mudavadi, was laying groundwork for the December Bungoma senatorial race, drumming up support for its candidate, Musikari Kombo.
We want to break away from this notion that Mheshimiwa Kombo is a lesser lawyer than another one. You know, I mean...
Those who really support me very strongly receive those threats on a daily basis. But we're not afraid. We're not afraid. We're here. And we'll win this seat.
Kombo squares it out with CORD co-principal Moses Wetangula for the Bungoma Senate seat. Samugina, KTN.
Now, motorists have been put on notice. By the end of this month, the Nairobi County government will track down errant motorists captured on CCTV cameras.
Motorists beware. Big Brother is watching. Traffic offenders will now be monitored from a control room situated at City Hall through closed-circuit television cameras. The cameras will monitor activities on a 24-hour basis, even during weekends and public holidays. Lights have been installed to provide night vision. There are also sensors with the capacity to monitor speed. Drivers who break traffic rules, such as overlapping or jumping lights, will have their faces and number plates of their vehicles captured, indicating time and place. Offending motorists will be notified and fined. Those who fail will have their vehicles impounded.
We don't have enough traffic police to mine all the roads 24/7. At night you'll find so many people who are coming from clubs, going outing. They drive crazy, they cause accidents, and they obstruct anyhow. But if at all this can be monitored, it will change in a big way.
To prefer ikwe kama this development country like South Africa. You don't need the police to be there. The camera is supposed to catch you.
Use of speed cameras on Thika Superhighway and Naivasha has seen motorists drive carefully and comply with speed limits. This has helped reduce accidents in black spots. A survey showed that speed compliance for motorists on Thika Superhighway increased from 42% in June 2011 to 71% in June 2013, while speed compliance in Naivasha increased from 50% to 77% for the same time period. Public service vehicle operators have been cited as most notorious for reckless behavior, such as speeding, obstruction, and overlapping. Will the CCTV cameras change drivers' behavior on the roads?
Itabidi sasa mtu akuwe na nidhamu yake mwenyewe, self discipline ikuwe juu. Na kama unajua hata ni kama kuna mtu anaendelea sasa hii nitachajiwa baadaye, itabidi utii.
Kuna madereva wengi wenzetu wanakuwa careless sana. Hakuna haraka sana, anataka do mingi.
The World Bank has released 400 million shillings to fund the CCTV project in Nairobi CBD. The cameras will also be used to monitor crime. The Nairobi County government plans to use 7 billion shillings to install CCTVs in the estates to tackle insecurity.
Mkakati huu wa kuweka CCTV kwenye streets za Nairobi ni nzuri sana kwa usalama wa Nairobi, kwa sababu hizi miaka zilizopita Nairobi imekuwa na usalama duni sana, kwani watu wengi wanapigwa ngeta.
The idea to introduce CCTV cameras is yet another attempt to tame rogue drivers on our roads and ensure road sanity. Apart from that, the cameras also ensure that security is maintained. Reporting for KTN, I'm Patrick Amimo.
Indeed, you should be very careful out on the roads. You might just get that phone call while at home to report to the nearest police station and pay a fine. Let's go back to matters of insecurity, and security experts are warning that Kenya's apparent indifference to the threat of terror may lead to other successful attacks. The experts also feel that Kenyans never really learned from the mistakes of the terror attacks in 1998, 2002, and recently the Westgate attack. Our Senior Coast reporter Ferdinand Omondi spoke to a security analyst who is set to train Kenyans on how to mitigate the threat of terror.
1998, a truck laden with explosives detonates at the U.S. Embassy. The targets, Americans. A staggering majority of the 212 who died were Kenyans. 2002, a terror attack on the Paradise Hotel in Kikambala, Mombasa. A car rammed through the hotel barriers and blew up at the reception. The targets were Israelis. 10 of the 13 who died were Kenyans. The country has suffered greatly from its perceived friendship with arch-enemies of terrorists, but security experts are worried that we have not learned.
It's the business of Kenya to know, if I enter a relationship with an American, what are the risks? Mitigate the risk. If I enter right now a relationship with China, what is the implication 100 years down the road?
The Westgate Mall attack was the first aggression of that large magnitude targeting Kenyans directly, this as a result of Kenya's military incursion into Somalia. Experts say many deaths could have been avoided if more Kenyans were enlightened on how to respond in such situations.
If I'm in a mall and I hear this kind of bullet, do I crawl? Do I stay? Where do I hide? That is the issue. I'm in a bank, gunshot. What do I do? Rule number one, they say the money is insured. Lie low. Lose the money, you'll get it again.
The success of the Westgate attack was partly blamed on a lax security system, but even after that, it appears many high-risk establishments are yet to put proper measures in place, never mind that the Al-Shabaab have warned that more is yet to come. Take the example of Mombasa.
KPA is at risk. Kenya Ferry is a time bomb waiting to explode. 200,000 people crossing that ferry every day, and it's from the top elite to the bottom. Look at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. We have traffic. Have we changed the security system?
The capacity and competence of some private security guards has also come under the spotlight when it comes to manning and securing establishments. The standard security protocol in many Kenyan buildings largely involves metal detectors and scanners. But in this era of liquid and powered bombs, is this really enough?
You cannot queue together the same people who have bags and the people who do not have bags. Because if I'm Al-Shabaab and I was getting 100 people and the queue at Kenya Power and Lighting Mombasa has 100 on the queue, do I need to go inside?
Security experts opine that by the time a security threat or a terrorist comes as close as your entrance or your reception or even the scanners, it may be a little too late. A more intelligent method is therefore advised to prevent that occurring. It's called profiling.
Profiling is where somebody is trained to think how you think. If you want to catch a fish, think like a fish. You walk in where 100 people are seated. In 1 second, you identify Francis is a terrorist. Second, you decide to shoot or he's endangering the group or call reinforcement. Third second, you finish the guy, you walk out.
Intelligence officers and presidential security are great examples of profiling masters. It comes with thorough training. This training is now coming to Kenya for the ordinary Mwananchi. On the 24th of this month, an elite commando unit from Israel's Special Forces will hold a 7-day training for security managers, branded Keeper of the City Security Boot Camp. The training will be held at the Paradise Hotel, the scene of the 2002 bombings.
These managers will be a specimen in this country that if his money times town, I'm going to pay duty there and there's a big queue, he knows how to identify a terrorist.
The intense 18-hour-a-day exercises targeting a class of only 50. Any security manager from a bouncer at a local pub to the man in charge of a high-class mall is encouraged to attend.
They'll use this specimen hotel as a practical center on how it would have been stopped for 2002 not to happen.
The objective of the training is to avoid and minimize a repeat of Westgate, Paradise, and the 1998 American Embassy blast, and hopefully make Kenya much safer to live in. Ferdinand Omondi, KTN, Mombasa.
Thank you, Ferdinand Omondi, for that story. Indeed, it is hoped that that will improve the security in this country, especially as we go into the festive season. Now, meanwhile, Ethiopian troops will join the African mission to Somalia, AMISOM, as part of renewed efforts to combat terrorism in the Horn of Africa region. Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn says Ethiopian troops will join the Kenyan and Ugandan troops that are part of the AMISOM fighting Al-Shabaab insurgents inside Somalia. The Prime Minister spoke in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where he hosted Deputy President William Ruto. He said his country's security chiefs were already engaged in strategy talks with their Kenyan counterparts on the joint operation. The Deputy President said as part of a campaign to eliminate the threat of terror, an estimated 1 million Somali refugees would be repatriated under an agreement to be signed in Nairobi tomorrow. The repatriation program is undertaken jointly by the Kenya and Somalia governments, together with the United Nations Commission for Refugees, UNHCR. Now, civil society groups have criticized the publication of the Public Benefits Organization Amendment Bill that limits foreign funding for the groups at 15%. The organizations say they will stage demonstrations and pursue judicial redress to reject a scheme they allege is aimed at punishing a section of civil society for their linkage to the International Criminal Court cases.
8 months into power and the government is rattling nearly all its critics, the Jubilee administration, whether by coincidence or by design, sending a message of intolerance, an onslaught championed by the National Assembly, domineered by the Jubilee.
This government seems to understand only one language: to control. Yet, we are talking about a government that came into power a few months ago on a wide public support and mandate. Why is it behaving as though it has some legitimacy deficit?
The proposed amendment to cap donor funding for civil society groups at 15% has sent shivers down the spines of human rights groups. The civil society is now indicting the state for developing a knack to censure and muzzle institutions, checking the executive and the legislature.
They're targeting the media. The other day they're targeting the other arm of the government, the other arm, which is now the judiciary. Now they have come for civil society. I think the bigger question is, who are they targeting next? This country belongs to all of us as Kenyans. It does not belong to a few politicians.
The Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill 2013 proposes, among others, to amend the Public Benefits Organization Act to put a ceiling on donor funding for non-governmental organizations and civil society groups. Rejecting the bill, the groups claim the state is on a mission to punish some civil society groups for being vocal about the ongoing ICC cases against the president and the deputy president.
There is every indication that part of this bill is aimed at targeting certain organizations, mostly those that deal with human rights and governance, that are suspected to have come to the rescue of victims of post-election violence that occurred and visited this country in 2007-2008.
Proponents of the bill, however, say a majority of civil societies misuse donor funding to enrich individuals, and such donor kitty require thorough scrutiny and auditing.
We should be able to make sure that our people live in dignity. It's very important when we create dignity for our people.
With an overpowered opposition, the media and civil society remain critical institutions to put government in check and expose and oppose social ills perpetuated by the state. Samugina, KTN.
Well, despite the growing criticism of the controversial Kiambu Finance Bill, Governor William Kabogo says he will sign it into law. He claims that the bill has been largely misunderstood.
The proposed Kiambu County Finance Bill is still causing jitters weeks after it was tabled in the County Assembly. The bill proposes to tax farmers before the carcasses of their livestock and pets can be collected for disposal. It also proposes controversial burial fees. The bereaved would have to pay 4,500 if the dead is an adult, 3,000 shillings for a child, and 2,500 shillings for an infant, among other charges.
This is also not something that was done in open. It is not actually equal. It doesn't show the distribution. And we are worried whether it's also something that this bill is incredibly, in fact, it cannot be debated. It has to be withdrawn.
If we can zone also the zones so that we can be fair in the way we are charging. Also, people want to have a comparative look at what was being charged to what is being given.
However, the governor refuted the claims that the proposed finance bill was introducing anything new.
If you want to bury somebody in our cemeteries, you will come and pay. Don't you pay in Nairobi? Don't you pay in Kajiado? Don't you pay in Murang'a?
He further clarified to Kiambu people during a forum yesterday that his government was not intending to charge the slaughtering of hens or goats as claimed.
You read the bill. It says cemeteries. It says slaughterhouses. Who has a slaughterhouse at home? If you have opened a business in a slaughterhouse at home, then we will charge you because you are doing a business. Every slaughter animal must be paid for in our slaughterhouses.
The governor says the Kiambu County Finance Bill has been misunderstood. Ian Wafula for KTN Weekend Prime.
Indeed, that will continue to be a topic of conversation for some time to come. But here's something else that will form some conversation for you right now. I just want to give you a sneak peek of the Standard on Sunday tomorrow. I want you to take a look at the top story. Standard on Sunday, always something for you to look out for. Now, it's all about relationships. Who are the spouses that cheat the most? Which region do they come from? A study has been conducted, and the details of that Infidelity survey are exclusively in your Standard on Sunday tomorrow. Apparently, it's the Rift Valley and Coast spouses who cheat the most. Why? Does that happen in that region? I know we've already had discussion in the offices to just what some of the areas we thought would top this list are. But do you agree? Is it only the Rift Valley and Coast spouses that cheat the most? And just take a look at that region by region and what pastors have to say, relationship experts have to say as well. And here's an interesting one. Apparently, 1 in every 5 couples would not marry the same person if given a second chance to do so. So, are you with the right person, and what happens? So, this is a topic of conversation. If your spouse comes from Rift Valley or the Coast Province, this would be some food for thought. Interestingly, but then again, this is just a survey, so nothing for you to take very seriously. Well, I don't know, think about it, but lest it be said that I have something against those from Rift Valley and the Coast. Please do get your copy of the Standard on Sunday tomorrow for your details on that. Promises to be an interesting read. Right here on KTN Weekend Prime. Now we want to take a short break, but here's what we have coming up next. Exploring options for job seekers on KTN Job Center.
As Kenya Government Workers Union from Mombasa to Busia, we are going to do all the best to save our members. And I ask you, the members from the former local authorities, to be calm because the professional drivers are in control.
You are watching KTN Weekend Prime. KTN KTN Sports.
Let's go to rugby news now. And Impala RFC fans left their home grounds crestfallen this afternoon after their rugby team was humiliated at home 22-3 by the visiting Nondis in the Kenya Cup Rugby League. Impala, who were not in action during the opening weekend of the season, were not themselves as Nondis outplayed them in all departments, only allowing the hosts to score from a penalty kick. Kisumu RFC joined Impala on the losers' corner as they were also hammered 43-3 by the visiting Mamba RFC. Homeboys were the other winners of the day as they beat Mombasa 58-6. KCB, on the other hand, defeated Mean Machine 17-3, while debutants Eldoret fell 70-24 to Nakuru. Now here's an interesting one. Many, if not all of us, have watched Kenyan athletes take on the rest of the world at various competitions. Lap after lap, we have cheered them on. But have you realized that athletes run anti-clockwise on the track? KTN's Lynn Washira set out to find out where it all started, and if athletes have always run clockwise.
The fact that athletes run anti-clockwise is definitely not one of the easiest things to spot in relation to athletics, probably because all the running tracks in the world are designed that way. History, however, has it that athletes have not always run from left to right. In the 19th century, when athletics tracks were laid down, the direction run was frequently clockwise. In the first modern Olympics held in Athens in 1896 and Paris 4 years later were certainly run so. But after 1906, there were objections as most competing countries had by then settled for anti-clockwise running. The fact that the first athletics events were run on horse tracks could also be a factor, as all the tracks were counter-clockwise. Other suggestions are that because of the effect of the Earth's rotation, an athlete running anti-clockwise will have a slight advantage, resulting in a faster time. In the Southern Hemisphere, this effect is reversed, but as the sport gained popularity in the Northern Hemisphere, anti-clockwise system was adopted and maintained. Evidence of the phenomenon is that none of the current world track records have been set south of the equator.
If you take somebody and put him in the middle of the desert, say, blindfold him, and say walk in a straight line, he'll come back to where he started. So there is a natural tendency for us to want to go to the left all the time.
There's also a theory that suggests that the anti-clockwise running is due to the fact that the right leg is naturally stronger, as explained by Peter Nduhio, who has worked with top athletes as a physiotherapist.
The heart is placed on the left, but you find the majority of the people are right-handed, and that makes it the dominant side of it. Again, now there is a contradiction a little bit, because you'll find your brain, if you are right-handed, the dominant side of your brain is left.
Running anti-clockwise could be referred to as racing against the clock, quite literally, but John Valzian, who has spent the better part of his life laying tracks in Africa and beyond, does not think it has any effect on time.
All our tracks are left-hand all the way around, but when it comes to races like the marathon and any other road race, then we follow the traffic normally the way the traffic goes.
Athletes have with time been programmed to run anti-clockwise, but they are seen running clockwise during their warm-down after a race.
It is the right leg that actually complains in a majority of the athletes, because it is struggling to put your body down, you see, as you're taking your corners. So it's always struggling to pull you back.
Whichever the origin, athletes will for now continue the race against the clock, as stated by the IAAF rule number 163 Cap 1, that the direction of running shall be left hand from the inside.
Interesting piece there. If you didn't know that, you're welcome. Now let's move on. Athletes expecting to take part in this year's CAS Marathon and have not registered have until Friday next week. The organizers said today that there will be no extension of the registration deadline. They have also reported that they are targeting about 5,000 athletes to participate this year.
It is again around that time of the year when athletes will assemble here in pursuit of the athletics glory during the 7th edition of the CAS International Marathon, set for the 17th of November 2013. This area, Namkoi in Nandi County, has again been privileged to host the starting point of this marathon, which has been branded as the only one that is being held between two counties, that is Nandi County and ending in Uasin Gishu County. And according to the technical committee, all plans are progressing well.
As far as the technical team is concerned for this event, I think the members who are actually in the technical bench are the people who actually understand the basic of running a marathon. And everything is set, and we are just still rolling out some other areas that maybe still need something to be done. I think with this, from the look of things, this marathon is growing every year. And the might that the sponsors of this event has done is coming up actually with a very huge amount of prize money that is actually attracting not only the local athletes from our country, but also the international athletes. What maybe we plan to see is that the way this the way the registration of this marathon is done, we need to do it online.
Locals and athletes alike are looking forward to the D-Day.
Nainua uchumi wa hapa, lakini mimi namwambia vijana kasana, waje mambo ya hiyo sota. Jaribu bahati yako kila bahali. Ikipata chop, shika kwa haba, usicheze. Ikitaka kukimbia, kimbia, pata cheo yako. Ikipata kitu kidogo, kuja fanya naye kazi.
Nimejiandaa. Vile mimi nataka nitafute hiyo pesa ya kazi. Hiyo pesa ni mingi na mimi naona at least itakuja kunisaidia. Inasaidia watu wangu wenye tunafanya mazoezi wote.
We yearn to see them because we've been intermingling with them. They are our friends, they are our neighbors, they are our brothers, and we believe we want to give the best person to win.
KTN Sports.
Flash mob one of these fine days on our bulletin. Okay. All right, something interesting to think about. Maybe we'll think about doing it for the end of the year and have all the cameramen here and, you know, directors and everybody, including our bosses, by the way, doing a flash mob for the end of the year. Let's see if I can convince them to do that. Thank you so much for watching KTN Weekend Prime this Saturday evening. It has been a pleasure having you with us throughout our bulletin. We'll see you again tomorrow night. It is Sunday, so that means it is Checkpoint, and you do not want to miss that. Have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.